Welcome in, everyone. I would like to welcome you today to our presentation. We will be having a discussion with Peggy Holtz from FINDER today. But before we head to that, if you would please take your device and hold it up to the QR code that's going to be coming up here in just a second. I would greatly appreciate it. For those of you that are on our Zoom platform right here, I have just pasted into the chat box our QR code that you can just click on that link if you would like. And I will be putting it out on our Facebook Live here in just a few minutes. My name is Jill Summerlot. I am the operations team leader here at InSource. And again, I would like to welcome everyone here on Thursday, August 21st. We are going to be talking to Peggy about FINDER today. Please, again, understand that this sign-in and these surveys are extremely important to us, as we do have we are a nonprofit, and so we rely heavily upon our grantees, and what they require is the sign-in and the surveys. So again, please, I know everybody's probably tired of hearing me say that every time I jump on these webinars, but please know that that's just part of our grants. Okay, at this time, I would like to introduce my co-host, and that is Lisa Paddock. Lisa, welcome today, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you, Peggy, and thank you for everyone who has joined us today, and also for those who might be joining after. Please make sure during that time that you do scan the QR code. So we want to welcome you today to find out more about FINDER. So with us today, we're so happy to have Peggy here today. So Peggy Holtz is the research associate for the Indiana Institute on Disability and Community. As a videographer for the Indiana Disability History Project, Peggy collected the lived experience of persons with disabilities, family members, service providers, and public officials across Indiana. Currently, Peggy is supporting the statewide disability resource database, FINDER. Her work involves researching entries to ensure data accuracy. She also creates presentations for families and professionals on how to effectively search for information within the database and demonstrate the capabilities of FINDER. So today you have joined InSource, your Parent Training and Information Center, to learn more about FINDER. We are very excited, Peggy, to hear about how to get the information that we need from FINDER. And we're so appreciative of everyone that has joined us today to find out. So Peggy, I will go ahead and I'll turn the presentation over to you to be able to tell us some more about yourself and some more about FINDER.
All right. Well, thank you. And, first of all, just, thank you for inviting me to share about FINDER, the disability related database. I don't know. Some people may be familiar with it. A lot of people may not be. If you are familiar with it, we've added several new features over the last couple months. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and share my screen. So first of all, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Indiana Institute on Disability and Community. That's where I work and worked for a number of years. And some people may be familiar with the Institute, maybe not. So the Indiana Institute on Disability and Community, or for short IIDC, is one of 68 centers on excellent and developmental disabilities across the United States. There's at least one in every state. And we've been around since the Kennedy administration. So, that's been a while. That's back into the 1960s. And at the Institute, we have 6 centers that cover the lifespan. So we have an early childhood center, we have a school age center, we have another center that the focus is on transitioning from school to employment, community living. And then we have our Indiana Autism Center. And they kind of cover from childhood into adulthood. And we also have what is the Epley Center. They're looking at accessibility in parks and public lands. And we also have, and that covers the lifespan too. We also have the Collaborative Systems Change Center, where they're looking at a lot of research and evaluation. They work with a lot of community partners. And then just recently, Hands in Autism has joined the Institute. So just briefly about the core functions of the Institute. This is the core functions of the USEDS, and there's 4 of them. And one is to prepare students for their field once they leave the university, either through providing coursework, practicums, internships, and that type of stuff. Research and evaluation, as I mentioned, we have one center that they have a real focus on different evaluations that they do with communities throughout the state of Indiana. Training and technical assistance. The Institute is sort of the bridge between the university and communities, so we provide a lot of training to community organizations, to disability service providers, to families, people with disabilities. Technical assistance, we may go into a classroom and help a teacher. We also do a lot of pilot projects, and then also information dissemination, and that's sort of where Finder fits in. So we produce a lot of products, we produce reports and briefs, and we also have a library here at the Institute where anybody across the state of Indiana, if you find something within the Indiana University system, you can contact our library and they will send it out to you. So the Institute manages the day-to-day operation of Finder. So that means, putting in new information, updating information, but Finder is actually funded by the AWS Foundation, which is based out of Fort Wayne. And they provide a lot of grant funding to community partners, nonprofits within the Northeast area of Indiana, providers and organizations that are really looking at the mission of providing meaningful lives for people with disabilities within their communities. And Finder, AWS had this idea a number of years ago of when they kept hearing from family members and people with disabilities and other caregivers that they were really having a hard time finding information, that they'd have to go to multiple places to just find one thing. And oftentimes the information was out of date. So there was just a lot of frustration. So AWS decided to look into this. And what they did was they pulled together all sorts of groups and they had focus groups and they did surveys to find out, what is needed. And, the number one thing, of course, was that a better system of navigation. So a number of years ago, what they did was after they gathered this information is that they invited these groups, people with disabilities and family members and other caregivers and service providers and government agencies and other advocacy agencies. They came together and they met. This was before my time, but they met multiple times to develop, what this database would look like. And then in 2019 is when Finder was actually launched, but it was in 2020 where IIDC formed a partnership with AWS. So IIDC does the day-to-day maintenance and AWS provides the funding, but they also work with the developers on the back end. And this is where we bring in new features to Finder. So it's a great partnership, and let's jump right into seeing what Finder is all about. So what can Finder do? Well, it's free. You don't have to have an account, but I will talk to you about the benefits of having an account, and we'll go over how do you sign up. You can use it 24/7. You can use it anywhere as long as you have internet access. It's also an app that you can have on your phone, so it's something that you can use anywhere, anytime. So let's just jump right in. So a few things before we start talking about how you can search for information is up here on the left-hand side are a variety of frequently asked questions. So when I talked about having an account, yeah, you have to sign up. And so you can look for the information right here. Well, how do I register? And there's a video that'll play, but I will go through how do you sign up for an account. There's information about what are the type of topics that you can find in Finder. You know, what information is included in Finder, what's not. If you have a listing, you know, how do you claim it? We'll go over if you wanted to submit a resource or an event, you know, how do you go about that? And I will walk you through some of that too. You know, if you happen to see incorrect information, how do you get that information to us? There's 3 of us that work on the day-to-day operation of Finder, and we try to do an audit of all the listings, you know, once a year. Sometimes we miss things, like today, I just noticed some events that we had in our event calendar have been canceled. And sometimes we may not catch that. So, you know, if you're using Finder and you find something that's incorrect, hey, we're okay with you, you know, sending us some information about, you know, this needs to be fixed. And then, so there's a lot of other different questions that you can look at. And then finally, the bottom, if you're interested in putting it on your phone, there's instructions on how to do that. It's not available on any app store, so you'd have to do it through the instructions provided here. And one thing about Finder, if you want to always go back to the top, this is always at the bottom. If you want to get to the home page, you just click on Finder and it'll take you back. So over here on the right side, we're gonna go through the login. And if you have any questions during this, you know, please stop me and I can answer. So to set up, you would go to register, and anything that has an asterisk is required. So you put in your name and email, you know, you can be more than, if you wanted to be a professional and family caregiver, you can check both of them. And then some of this other information is optional, but it's kind of good to have because, as I mentioned, you know, we get grant funding and all that kind of stuff. And so demographic information that we can provide to funders and everything is very beneficial. But again, it's optional. And then you create a password. And if you want to participate in future surveys, in the time that I've been here in the 2 years, we've had like 1 survey. And then once you create your password, you will get an email that will have you verify. If you don't get it within a couple minutes, be sure to check your junk mail, your spam mail, because sometimes it will show up in there. So I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to log in myself.
And if anyone does have any questions, just put them in the chat.
Okay, we're going to go back over here and I'm going to go through some of the features of Finder. So Finder is 100% accessible, but they do add some other features if a person is interested. Like you can make the cursor bigger. Well, if you can tell that it's, you can tell bigger. You can change the contrast. You have different options. You can reset it all. We can make the text bigger. Desaturate. You can highlight the links. You can see the yellow around the different links. And then you can reset all. Another feature of Finder is that it has been translated into several different languages. All you have to do is click on the one thing when it's translating it into a different language, it may respond a little bit slower than if it's in English. And then you can just go back to English. Finder has a Facebook page, so you could go out to the Facebook page if you wanted to check it out. So we're going to look at how you do a search. And there are multiple ways that you can do a search within Finder. And one of the ones that family members and people with disabilities were really interested in, because some of them might have been new to the disability field, or they weren't sure how to do what they were looking for. And so they sort of wanted a way that it would take them step by step. And so that's what Start Your Journey is all about. So if you see up here, it says my search results will be narrowed down. So it automatically, if you have it set up, will narrow your search down to the county you're in and the surrounding counties. Now, one thing that I discovered recently was that this wasn't coming up. And what I discovered was in my browser, in my privacy settings, it had been turned to privacy, so it wasn't reading my IP address. So if you want it set up where it's locating automatically the county you're in and surrounding counties, and it's not coming up, to check your browser. So we have all these different tiles of different topical areas. And if you click on the question mark, it's going to give you a definition of what is in this topical area and the tag words that the database is going to be looking for. And so I'm gonna start with, so I'm a parent and I have a child who is reaching that area of what's going to happen, that transition from school to either employment or doing some additional schooling. So I might be interested in guardianship. And so I click on it, it turns green, and all the things that I select will be up here at the top. And you can select more than one thing. You can do multiples. If you wanted information, you could click that too. And then the next step is kind of the lifespan. And again, the question mark will give you an age range. For infancy, we don't want. Some of them will give you an age range. Some will just, toddler. Early childhood is, I think, 2 to 5. So I have a teenager. They're going to be transitioning, so I'm going to pick transition, as it says here, and you can see what the definition. And just like all the other tiles, you can break it, you can add a diagnosis. You don't have to do every step. And again, it'll give you the definition in different tags. Now there is some overlap here. Intellectual disabilities, Down syndrome, you could have both. And if you didn't want to, well, where's the tile? You could start to type in, and it's going to narrow it down. And then you just select. Oops, not all, sorry. If you want to deselect, you just click on them. So the next step is, oh, well, we didn't want them all up here. Oh. Okay. The next step is payment option. And a lot of providers, they have multiple ways of payments. It could be insurance, could be private pay, it could be a Medicaid waiver. Sometimes people don't, I'm not sure what I'm looking for. So the default is just call for details. So I'm not gonna check anything here. I'm just gonna leave it call for details. And because I've already had, it's already using my location, I don't have, you can see here, these are the counties that surround Monroe County that I'm in. But if I view results, it comes up with 19 providers within my area who have something related to guardianship. Now, let's say, I could go through these 19 and look for, what do they offer, but I don't really want to go through 19. So I could go up here to the keyword and maybe put, I want to talk to a lawyer. It automatically identifies that there are 3 providers within my service area that would meet my definition here of what I wanted. So I could, and one of the things here, like this one is Indianapolis. Well, I'm not sure that I want to travel up to Indianapolis. And the reason that it's probably showing up as Indianapolis, these are my nearby counties. We don't see Marion County on here, but if I was to go to the listing and I drop down to service area, it has Morgan, which is part of my service area. So if I go back, I could go over here and I say, well, I don't want Morgan County. And so then it leaves me with 2 options. So what you can do then is you can click on the listing and it's going to give you information about the provider, their mission statement, what they offer. Also here, they do have Spanish. And then over here, there are multiple locations. Well, this says Indianapolis, but there is a Bloomington office. So I can click on that. I can get the website, the phone number, their location. You can click on the map and it would pop out and it would give you, directions. And then over here on the right, you can see this is the topics of interest that this provider covers. And then you can see, well, there's guardianship, alternative, legal. These are all the different topics of interest that they would cover. Stage of life, it's the lifespan, all the different diagnoses. They serve the state. They have, depending on your eligibility, it may be free. And then you see here, English and Spanish. So a couple things that I could do once I get this and I say, oh, this is what I'm looking for, is you can come up over here and you could print this out. You could bookmark the listing. And then I'll show you when you will have a profile and it's automatically sending it to your profile. And we'll look at profiles in a little bit. I could send it to somebody. So if I have their email address, I just type it in and you send the email. And then they will get an email. And when they open it up, it'll have a link to Indiana Legal Services. And well, this is okay. Let's go back. So that works. That one would work. I would send the email. The other thing you could do is you could save this search so that right here, save the search, so that you could keep it and you never have to think about, well, having to recreate it. If I save the search, you give it a title. And save. It tells me it's successfully saved, and that again will come up in your profile. Over here where it says spoken language, what you can do is, well, you're looking for resources or providers where they have somebody on staff that speaks the language you're looking for. So if I was to go down and hit Spanish, so only one comes up. There's one provider that has somebody on staff who could speak Spanish. So are there any questions before I move on?
I do not see any questions in the chat here. I do not know if Jill has received any on Facebook.
We have not received anything on Facebook as of yet.
Okay. So the other thing, if I take this off, you can do best match, or you can do, say, you know, like if you had 13 search results, you could do it alphabetical or best match. You can look at resources. So yeah, here would be the different resources. I should say, so providers would be, you know, disability service providers. It could be therapists. It could be somebody who sells like hearing aids or wheelchairs. That's what a provider is, somebody who offers a service. Your resources are things like articles, tool kits, reports, might be a national organization. Those are what resources. And so Finder has about 1,900 provider listings and about 1,000 different resources. And I will show you a little more about resources in a little bit. So you can do one search and, you know, you can look at providers, you can look at resources. So let's say, okay, I'm done with that search. I've saved it and I want to do something else. So all I need to do is go over here and clear my filters. Now it says, are you sure you want to remove your selected service area? And I'm going to say, no, I don't. So it's automatically going to show up here. So that was one way to search, you know, step by step. But let's say I don't want to take the time to go through that. I know what I'm looking for. I can just go up and do a keyword. So let's say I have a child, they like horses. I want to find a place where they can do some horseback riding and get some therapy. So I could type in equine, and I you know, I could do because it already knows my service area. It comes up with 3 results. And so if I was to say, well, I don't want to go out of my county, well, I can take off. And so we see it. Now I'm down to 2 results. And then again, you know, I could, well, this one, that one's in Morgan County, but it must also serve, because it's still showing up, it probably serves one of these other counties. But I want to stay in Monroe County in Bloomington, so I would just go out here. Again, it gives me the information. I have the phone number. I have an email that I can email them. Over here, they have the topics of interest. These are the things that they cover within their therapy. And there's the different counties they serve, payment options, call for details, or private pay. Again, you know, you can save the search, you can bookmark it. So we've looked at two different ways of doing a search. One of the new ways is AI. And it's fairly new. And one of the nice things with AI is, you know, you can do more than 1 or 2 words. You can put in a whole sentence. So let's say, you know, I have a child and I'm looking for speech therapy. So I would type in the nice thing with the AI is that, as you can see, it's moving along, so you can make your sentence or your question as long as you wanted it to be. Right, hit enter. It's thinking, it's going out, it's looking. So it comes up with 50, but I haven't put in my service area. So if I go over here to service area, and this is always at the top, use my location. And again, like what we saw, and you can always, you know, change this. If I go up here, you know, I can add these back in if I wanted to. Now view my results. It's got me down to 32. You know, 32 is quite a few to look at, but if you look at, it's doing a best match. The ones that are at the top are all within my service area. Let me see Bloomington, because Bloomington's in Monroe County. They have multiple like the Peyton Manning's Children's Hospital. I wouldn't look at that one, but I can, you know, the reason that it's showing up is because of the fact that they're statewide. So the system is recognizing Monroe County. So, you know, I could just ignore that one. Well, so you see here, there's another Bloomington. This one, the reason it's showing up is because I had clicked Morgan County. They'll say, well, you know, I don't want Morgan County. If we look here that it's 32, the results go down to 28. You know, I could say, well, I don't want Owen County. Doesn't really change. It's a smaller county. And then, you know, here's another Bloomington one. There's another Bloomington. The other thing that AI will do is it will give you some suggestions that you could click on. Like we have here, early intervention, speech therapy. I mean, that doesn't really change much of what I have searched for. So maybe speech therapy, developmental speech delays, you know, I could try that. And it brings it down to 15. And so I could go from there. So I'm going to stop and see if there are any questions right now.
We've not had any
Yep.
posts on Facebook Live.
And
Okay.
also none on our live webinar platform. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
All right. Well, I'm just checking to see if, you know, I know this stuff, and so I don't want to be going too fast through it. So if anybody has any questions, please. One thing, if you go down to the bottom here, where it says we value your feedback. So if you do a search and you're not finding what you're looking for, you can give us a thumbs down, or if it worked well, give us a thumbs up, because we can track this to see what the search was and say, the search didn't work out very well for you, we can track what that search was, and it helps us improve searches going forward. So it's something optional that you can use, but yeah, it's valuable. And then you can change how many results you want per page. 10 is sort of the default. Like, you could say 20. I had 15, so then they would all be on the same page. So those are providers, and I showed how you can switch from providers to resources. So, but you can also just, I'm just interested in getting some more information. I just want some more information, and I can just go to resources. So I could say we looked at the journey, we looked at guardianship. So I learned some things about guardianship, but I want to know more about what are some alternatives to guardianship. So I could type in, and it comes from the providers, but I'm more interested in resources. So it gives me 20 different results. And up here, it gives me, again, search suggestions. And I can look and say, okay, I want to look at this one. So again, you just click on it. And resources are a little different. You don't have as much information, but you still have over here on the right, it'll tell you, well, what are the topics it covers? What are the stages of life, diagnosis, and that? Here's a little bit of information about it. But with resources, you can provide an external link so it will go out to it. And again, with a resource, you can print it off, you can bookmark it, and you can share it in an email, and it'll send the link. So if I was to go back, and this one says supported decision-making programs. So I've looked through these, I've looked at all the different alternatives to guardianship. I've maybe bookmarked some that I want to go back to. But let's take the supported decision-making. Let's see what comes up. So actually the results are a few more, but what you're noticing is that anything that's just has supported decision-making is going to the top because that's the best match. And again, you can go through. Same thing. I mean, you can also have links to other resources within this resource. So I can clear my filters. So that is basically how you can do a search for information. One of the other things that Finder has are events. And there are two different ways you can look at events in Finder. Here's a list view, and it will, go down day by day. The one that I like is the calendar view, where you can see what's available each day without having to go down the list. Another thing you can do is, I want to do a search. You're looking for something in particular, say schools. So it'll get rid of anything that doesn't have anything related to schools. I could click on it, and it's gonna view the event or register. So I can click on view event, and it's gonna take me out to the event. It's gonna give me when it's happening, what the price is, who's putting it on, event description. Over here on the right side, well, this is in South Bend. Phone number, so you could get more information. Can take you out to the actual website with more information about the event. And again, it's just like everything else. Once they're put in, we have to put in, with the topics, what the age target is, the diagnosis. And so, this is for Northern Indiana. So, I'm in Monroe County, and so this really wouldn't fit for me. Again, just to show you, so with an event, you can add it to your calendar. You can print it off. You can bookmark it. Well, let's say bookmark it. So it's been added to my bookmarks. And again, I could send it out to somebody else. So if we go back and say, you can also do a search by location. So if I use my location, which is Monroe County and the surrounding counties, it's going to come up with everything that's within my service area. And I could say, well, we enter things, we do a lot, there are a lot of webinars and online listings so we could, I could say it online, or do I want it in person? So we do online, like today's presentation is here. You can switch it, what's available in person. So there's nothing in August in my area that's in person until September. And so I could look at that. So this is something Hands in Autism is putting on. That's in person and online. And one thing with a lot of events is that they might have a registration. And so you would find the registration link here. You go to it. And this is where you would go through the registration to sign up for the event. So you don't even have to go visit their webpage. Another way you can search, so I could say clear that. Say, you see how everything comes back. This is everything that's in the event calendar for right now. You could say, well, I just want things for family or caregivers. So it changes. These would just be events that were for family or caregivers. Some of the events are for everyone. Here's one that would probably be for, and it'll tell you up here, it's online for family or caregiver. So that is just for caregivers. And then, of course, you can also look at it this way. And it's the same thing. I like the view of the calendar, because you can, see it day by day. Here, you scroll down, you see, okay, here are all the events that are happening today, and then it'll go to Friday. And it's the same thing. It'll take you to the same. It all looks the same once you get to it, to the link. Any questions about the event calendar?
We do not have any questions yet. This has been quite informative of a variety of different ways you can search for things, under different categories you can search for things, search for things in different areas, close to you or far away. But we do not have any questions at this point.
Okay, all right. And just to show you, so you can look ahead. Here's what's available in September. It keeps going out through this, as far as you want to go. Okay, so we've done our searches, we've looked at events, and I had mentioned, you have a profile. So here's my profile, and I have more options than you would as because I'm administrator. As a user, you would have listings and how-to guides over here. And we'll go over that. But remember, as I mentioned, bookmarks, here are my bookmarks. And the thing with bookmarks is that you can create folders and put your bookmarks in your folders. So, I created one on guardianship. And so in that folder, I can go out to it and get my information. It's pretty easy to set up a folder. You just give it a name. Here are my search results. I can go over here and I click on it, and you see all the things that I had put in to do my search are all right there. So I would not have to recreate it again. And, if you don't need the search anymore, you can go over here and it'll ask you, do you want to delete it? I'll say, okay. And the same thing with your bookmarks. Down here, see, I saved my event. You can go out to it. Now, also in your profile, if you want to change your password, you can do that. You can edit your account information. In your profile is the how-to guide. And what you would have these first two columns of site use and account activities. And so if you go over here, again, it's going to tell you, it takes you through everything that you can do in Finder, how to print out a listing. It takes you step by step. We did a guided journey. If you need additional instructions, there's written here, and it will take you step by step again on how do you do a guided journey. Here's how to install the mobile app. So everything is written out and easy to follow. So let's say I don't know if you would want or have the need to add a listing, but we can go over that. You may find that you found a resource that wasn't in Finder and you wanted to add it. What you would do is you go up here to add a listing, and it's broken down by provider, resource, and event. And so, okay, I want to add a resource. So it'll go through the guidelines of what you can do, what you can't put in, and then you would, agree. And I'm going to take you I have one set up. So when you say you wanted to add a resource, this is what it's going to look like when it pops up. Again, it's sort of like the journey. It's going to take you step by step of all the information that you need. If it has an asterisk, that is something that is required. The system will not let you move on to the next step if you leave it blank. So you put in the title, the URL. Now, keywords are not required, but it helps the search if you add keywords that are specific, because when you do a keyword search or the AI, it's going out and it's looking at the title and it's looking at the keywords and the description. So it helps in the search if you add keywords that are very specific to what you're adding. And then the explanation is required. And you can add links. And then with a resource, most resources don't have a location, so this would be one that you would just skip. Again, you would just select the topics that your resource covers, the lifespan, what ages, the diagnosis. As I said, you can do more than one. You can take, you can take them all. If there's one, oh, that one really doesn't fit, you can take it off, you can add it. And then what you would do is you see all the information that you've put in. You can preview your listing and see what it looks like, check for typos and that type of thing. And then you would submit for review. Now, because I'm an administrator, you wouldn't have this information up here. You would have submit for review, and it would come to us. We would review it. We have to vet it, make sure it's something that's okay to be put up in that. And then we would publish it. You would get notification that it's been published if you own it. Let's look at a event. So you may have an event like InSource has lots of different webinars and events. You can put in your own information. As I said, there's 3 of us that work on Finder. There's 2 of us that do a lot of the data entry and making sure the information's correct and going through and updating resources and providers. So we may not always catch events, because I go out every week and I have certain lists that I go through to see what events are out there, and I like to kind of plan ahead so that people have time to, a couple weeks ahead of time if possible, so they have time to say, well, am I available for this? So if you have your own events that you want to put in and you have an account, you can do it yourself, and it helps us out a great deal. So with events, it's very similar. Anytime there's an asterisk, it's required. It's good to have, the name of the organization. With events, there's a little calendar, so you can go in here and set your date and time. Now, what it'll do is once you click on here, it's automatically gonna put it for an hour. So let's say, it's more than an hour. That should actually be 3:30. Put that in there. The cost. Now, if there are a variety of different costs, you would click on event cost varies, and then in the description, you could put in the different cost prices. Again, the audience is required. it can be like this one's just for professionals, but you could have one that's all three, or it could be individual and family. Is it online or in person? You put in the external link. If there are any accommodations, or you can put here, or, you know, if you want to tell people where to enter the building, or, you know, where do you park? Again, you know, keywords are not required, but I think it really helps people with searches the more information that you provide them. Now, event description is interesting that it doesn't have a asterisk, because people are looking for events to go to, and if you don't provide them with the description, that's something maybe look into, that it should have an asterisk. And it's very similar, except, you know, with a event, you're going to have a location that's required. If it's an online event, you could just put here virtual or online, and the same, you know, the same thing here. It's virtual or online. This information is not required, but I think it's, you know, if you want people who have questions, to give them a phone number, a website, and an email. Again, you just go through and pick the categories, the topics that apply to your event. This one's for school age. The one thing is, like with this one, it's everything but two things. So what you can do is, as I had shown you earlier, you can select everything, and then it's easier to just unclick on two of them rather than to go through and click on multiple ones. And then with an event, these are the counties. This event was, I believe it's in Marion County. So the counties surrounding the Marion County were identified. If it's statewide, you would just click statewide. Then you can look at it. The other thing with events, let's say you have something that's reoccurring, you can, let's go back. See here, add another event. You could just go in, find the date, and add it. Go through, check your information, and then you would submit for review. I could show you how to enter a provider one. If you're interested, it's very similar. Just let me know if you want me to go through that.
That's, excuse me, Peggy, that's up to you. We do have time. If you want to, that's fine. I don't have any way of knowing if we have providers online or if we're just talking parents.
Okay.
So it's entirely up to whatever you would like to do.
Well, let me just briefly show it because it's very similar. And then I wanted to show our live chat. So for a provider, it's very similar. Provider has more steps to it. Again, anything that has an asterisk, you know, is there more than one language spoken at the provider? Do you have somebody on staff? The type of organization it is. Does it offer 24/7 service? The description. And then this is where it's a little different. Location. Some providers might have more than one location, so you can add as many locations as you want. And so it's very, I mean, they're all based on the same design. It's statewide, so I don't know. I mean, it's just as easy to do statewide, to select all counties. This one, they actually have put in the different payment options. So very similar. And then they would submit. So one thing that we have is live chat. So say, you went through, you did your search, you can't find what you're looking for, or you can go out to live chat. What we ask for, anything that's got an asterisk, you put your name in. And so that we can help you look for the information you're looking for is, what are you looking for? And I'm going to say, and then the county. Oh, so it says you're 1 in the queue. The wait is about 3 minutes. Okay. And so live chat's available Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we have hours in the morning and in the afternoon. If you happen to have a question and we're not on live chat, you can still leave a question and we will receive a ticket and it comes into our email, and then we would get back to you with our response. I see you're looking for us. While we wait, does anybody have any questions?
No, we don't have any questions on my end.
There's nothing that's popped up on Facebook either.
Okay. We'll give her another minute or so to see what she's finding.
Peggy, you had mentioned that things have been around for several years. I guess when we talk about the disability community and trying to find, I think of a one-stop shop is what I think of. And that's what I think kind of Finder is. Whenever I go to start searching, Finder's always been the first place I've always went. Is it, with there being so many more things that have been, like there's independent things that pop up and, we know that like autism's on the rise. It's been on the rise for several years. We know ABA centers and stuff like that are coming up. Are you seeing an influx of there being more things that are being put out on Finder that are, because of the disability community getting so much more bigger and because of it really becoming more popular? I mean, again, we're talking the statistics are on the rise just for autism alone over the last several years.
Yeah, and that's, there's a couple things here. One is it helps when there are people in the field and families in that who see this information, and if it's not in Finder, to either send it to us or to put it in themselves, because like I said, there's really only 2 of us that are doing this, and so we may miss some things. And one thing that I've found that's important, one thing that's been beneficial about live chat is that we can we can archive our live chat, and so we can see, well, what are some of the issues that keep popping up. And so we're like, okay, let's see how much information in Finder do we have on this. And then we make a concerted effort to go out and do searches to make sure that it gets into Finder.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting. That's nice to know. Thank you for sharing that with us.
So if we see here, I don't know how well you can see it on your screens, but she gave me a listing and it's a link so I can go out to it. And so I have that information. Now, you know, if I say, well, that's not going to work, you know, I could ask her another question. I'll just say, you know, one of the reasons that I used guardianship was I just remember doing resource fairs back in April and May and having that question pop up from parents about, oh, you know, my son or daughter is turning 15, 16, or maybe up to 18, and we need to start thinking about this. And, you know, I need some more information about guardianship. What do I do? What are some of the alternatives? And so I kept hearing that. And so, you know, we made an effort to really go out and look for attorneys and that who offered things like guardianship or talked about supported decision making. So, you know, it's really listening to the people who are out there, to the parents, to people with disabilities, and then coming back to the Institute and doing those searches to make sure that it gets into Finder. Because I know in rural areas, that's a big, you know, we have a problem with deserts of lack of information. And so that's one thing that I had really started to look at was mental health has been a big one. I mean, and so I have spent a lot of time looking at, well, what mental health centers, providers are out there that, you know, working with people with also, you know, multiple dual diagnosis type of things. So that is live chat. And like I said, it's available it's available anytime, but we have certain hours that we're on. Another thing is Finder has a media kit. So if you were having an event and you wanted to advertise, you know, Finder, you can print out different information, posters, things for social media, if you have something to put in a newsletter. Another thing that we have is if you want to send information out, you're having an event. Like I've had parents who are helping sponsor a resource fair. And so they contact us and they say, hey, we want to share some information about Finder. We will send you out these media kits, and they include brochures, pens, magnets, so that you can share them at resource fairs or any type of event you have. All you have to do is contact us and we will ship it out to you.
Peggy, that is really good to know. This has been great, valuable information for professionals, for their organizations, for parents, community stakeholders, because obviously we refer to Finder often and utilize it, and you share our events. And so we appreciate that greatly.
And I also, yeah, well, and I also have to say, you know, I appreciate InSource. You have a link to Finder on your website.
Yes, we do.
So, you know, Finder also has a glossary. So if you come across a term that you're not sure what it means, you can go out and see if it's listed in the glossary. So that's pretty much about Finder. I just wanted to show you how Finder has grown over the years. I mean, if you just look from 2022 to last year, I mean, you know, it's more than doubled in the number of users who are using Finder.
And that really does speak to the fact that we do know that disabilities are on the rise, in every single category. Obviously, would it be because it was, not only we have a growing population too. We have a comment that says
Yes.
impressive, extensive, and user-friendly. I will share this informative site with clients and use it to get help for clients. Thank you. You are entirely welcome. And that just speaks back to that a provider, you can tap into this. A parent, anybody can use Finder. Go and use their resources and utilize that search. I've used it for years. I know Lisa's used it for years. So it's a very valuable information. And really thank you very much, Peggy, for bringing it to us today.
Well, I'm glad I could. And just, final thing about just how Finder keeps evolving is that these are just the new features, and I touched on most of them. I don't think all of them. Just probably since May,
Yeah.
adding the calendar view, which I love. The AI is fairly new, and it doesn't always, I mean, it needs to learn and is getting better as time goes on, where, I think at some point, that'll probably be the best way to do a search. And so yeah, and we're always evolving, always trying to improve Finder.
Jill, I have no other comments or questions on this side, and I don't know about you for Facebook Live.
I haven't had anything pop up, but I know that Peggy just put up there the app. So there is a mobile app that I'm assuming that you can go and probably find it on just about any device.
Right, we have to go to the Finder page, because we're not big, so it's not on Apple or Android or Google. But as I mentioned, there are instructions in the frequently asked questions that will take you step by step. And you can do everything on your phone as you would on your computer or your tablet. You might not have some of the images, but you can do searches. You can look for events. You have, like I said, you can take it on the go anywhere as long as you have internet access.
Well, Peggy,
Sounds great.
thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, whether you're watching live or on Facebook or here in the webinar, or you're watching at a later date from our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining InSource, which is Indiana's Resource Center for Families with Special Needs. And we are the Parent Training Center for Indiana. And I want to thank you all for joining today. And at this point, I will turn the presentation back over to the host of the webinar, Jill Summerlot. And so I'm Lisa Paddock, and I want to thank you for joining. Jill, would you like me to put the QR code back up?
I just put the code up. I want to just remind everyone, did it not come up?
Not yet. We know the magic of the platform, so it might take a second. It looks like it's, there we go, Jill. Thank you. It's up there now.
And it's funny because I'm on a Chromebook. I don't generally do our webinars from a Chromebook. So I'm just so confused. I just want to thank you again so much, Peggy, for being here today. It's been very informative. We've had several people out on our Facebook Live that have hit our heart emojis. We have our attendees that have been here. If you please would remember to fill out that survey, that would be wonderful. Again, the first link on our Facebook Live and on our Zoom platform is the tiny URL for that. Okay, I don't see any questions or anything as of right now. So I would again thank you, Peggy, for being here today. It was a great information. Just a reminder for me to keep utilizing Finder and to keep putting it out there for our families as well.
Yeah, well, and thank you for having me. And like I say, if you have questions, you're always, anybody's free. We have, you can go on Finder and it has a, contact us and it'll get sent to us and we will get back to you as soon as we can. But yeah, thank you so much for inviting me.
And Jill, we may want to remind everyone to join us September the 4th.
Yes.
Stephen Balco from Department of Education is going to come and he's going to talk about the attendance law, what it is and what it isn't, so that everyone can understand more about it. So we hope that everyone will join us then.
Absolutely. And a reminder that there will not be any Monday minutes this coming Monday. And then the following Monday is a holiday and all of our offices will be closed. So the next time that you will be able to catch us on a webinar will be on September the 4th. In the meantime, you are more than welcome to go to our YouTube page, which is up in the left-hand corner of our website if you would like to go there. And you can view any of our webinars. And this will be one that will be archived out there. Give us a couple days before it is there, but it will eventually make its way to our YouTube page. All righty, so I don't see anything else at this time. Ladies, thank you very, very much for being here. I want to thank our audience for being in attendance today, and we will see everyone back here again on September the 4th at 1:30 p.m.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Bye-bye.